Thanks, Senator Blumenthal. Senator Cornyn.
Mr. Secretary, when the Attorney General of the United States was here a couple of weeks ago, I asked him whether he was aware of the strategy of transnational criminal organizations to flood the border with migrants in a manner to overwhelm the Border Patrol so that then they could move drugs across the border. And he said he was aware of that strategy. Are you familiar with that strategy? Do you agree with the Attorney General?
I am not aware of that as a strategy. I am certainly aware of the significant challenge.
If you're not aware of the strategy, they move migrants and they move drugs for money, right?
Yes, they do. The cartels
and so
the smuggling.
what better way to move drugs into the United States than to overwhelm the Border Patrol with migrants and divert their attention from their drug interdiction responsibilities?
Senator Cornyn, more than 90% of the fentanyl, or about 90% of the fentanyl that is brought into the United States.
That's a totally made-up number. You had nearly 1 million people get away from Border Patrol, evade Border Patrol's detection and detention between 2022 and 2023. You have no idea how many of those people were carrying fentanyl or other drugs with them, do you?
Senator, the expert view that I received is that approximately 90% of the fentanyl
That's a totally made-up number, Mr. Secretary, and you know it. That's a totally made-up number.
Senator, that the expert information that I received is that approximately 90% of the fentanyl is brought in through the ports of entry, through passenger vehicles, through trucks, and through pedestrians.
Mr. Secretary, you understand that you have a credibility problem with the Congress and with the American people, don't you?
I have unflinching confidence in the integrity of my conduct.
No, I'm saying you have told us two patently inconsistent things. For example, you said we do have operational control of the border in 2022. You said the border is not in fact open. And then I think I heard you say here that no administration has ever had operational control of the border. Isn't that what you said?
No. That is not what I said.
That's not what you said. Well,
the record
will reflect.
May I clarify?
With 4.8 million people coming to the border and being ushered into the interior of the United States, perhaps never to be identified or heard from again, and with 108,000 Americans dying of drug overdoses last year alone, with those drugs flooding across the border, you think everything is just hunky-dory.
That is absolutely not true. Senator,
no,
I understand the gravity
I understand your answer. You said it's not true, and I disagree with you.
Senator,
Last month, I went to Hayes Consolidated Independent School District in Kyle, Texas, and I met with Shannon and Darren McConville and Brandon Dunn and Janelle Rodriguez. The McConvilles lost their 17-year-old son, Kevin, to fentanyl poisoning. He had pizza for dinner and then came back down looking for a second helping, and none was left, his mom said. So she offered to make him a tuna fish sandwich, and instead he went upstairs and went to bed. And when they went to his bedroom the next morning to wake him up, he was dead because of fentanyl poisoning. Brandon Dunn and Janelle Rodriguez's 15-year-old son, Noah, who loved sports, they called him a genuine, kind, and a jokester. He began, his mental condition began to deteriorate during COVID-19, and unfortunately it had some experience with illicit drugs, but while spending the night at a friend's house during the first weekend of the school year, Noah took a pill laced with fentanyl and died of fentanyl poisoning. Mr. Secretary, would you like to take the opportunity here today to apologize to these parents who lost their children because of fentanyl poisoning because of the policies of your department and the Biden administration? Would you like to apologize to them?
Senator, my heart is with the family of every victim of a drug overdose death.
Is that an apology?
My heart is with the family and the loved ones and the friends and neighbors.
So why don't you do something about it?
Of every victim of these drug overdose deaths.
Attorney General Garland said this is part of a comprehensive strategy by the cartels to flood these drugs into the United States by overwhelming Border Patrol. You're clearly losing that battle, and you won't even apologize to these parents like so many other parents who have lost their teenage children to counterfeit drugs laced with fentanyl.
We are bringing unprecedented force in the fight against
And you're
fentanyl.
losing. Let me ask you another question.
The gravity of the challenge cannot be overstated. We recognize the gravity of the challenge, and I look forward to working with you.
And do you recognize that you were losing?
I look forward to working with you,
No,
Senator,
that's not my question.
and this committee to address this
Let
challenge
me ask you another
together.
question in the time remaining, since you won't answer our questions and you won't acknowledge responsibility. My constituents are saying, who's accountable? Who's accountable? Who's paying a price? Who got fired? Well, you haven't been fired. You should be fired, but you haven't been fired because you were carrying out the policies of the Biden administration. And we've seen nothing but death and destruction as a result.
Senator,
Will you wait for a question? Wait for a question. I recently went to the Yuma Border Patrol sector, which is a sleepy little agricultural community, as you know, in southwest Arizona. The Border Patrol chief there greeted us by saying, we have encountered 100 migrants from 176 countries speaking 200 languages. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly pointed out that Mexicali is a city in northern Mexico with very close to the border where people can simply fly into that and then take an Uber over to the Border Patrol sector and claim asylum and then be released under your policies, under Biden administration policies, into the interior of the United States from 176 different countries. Recently, I was in El Paso with a bipartisan group of senators that was before we got to Yuma. And we were out on a night patrol. The Border Patrol detained 2 young men who had passports from the People's Republic of China, mainland China, controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. They were presumably released like these other individuals into the interior of the United States with either a notice to appear or a notice to report. Can you tell the committee where these people are today? Can you assure us that these individuals are not in the United States to conduct espionage or other nefarious acts against the United States government? Can you reassure us of that?
Senator, if an individual is deemed to present a threat to public safety or national security,
well, how would you know? How would you know? They show up with a passport and they claim a credible fear of persecution, and then under yours and the Biden administration policies, they're released into the interior of the country. These are people who perhaps we don't have any records about. Certainly, we're not going to get them from China. You know zero about them, and you know zero about the threat they pose to the United States and our national security. You can't tell us, can you, where the individuals are located who have been either paroled or released into the United States. You have no comprehensive list or ability to identify where those people are today, do you?
Senator, let me again repeat that we screen and vet individuals.
That's not my question.
If we encounter,
you're quite capable of evading the questions we're asking or diverting us to something else that's not what we asked. My question to you is, when somebody from the People's Republic of China shows up in El Paso, Texas, and then claims asylum and is released into the interior of the United States, do you know where they are and what they are up to?
We very well can know where they are based upon.
You can? Do you?
It depends on the individual and the fact
So
that
some of them, if it depends on the individual, some of them you don't know where they are or what they are up to. Is that right?
Senator, the issue of individuals absconding from law enforcement is a challenge that
And you were failing in that challenge, Mr. Secretary.
If I may
You and the
finish.
Biden administration policies are contributing to what is happening on the border, and according to Ms. McConville, she credited the Biden broken border policies with contributing to the death of her son, and you won't even have the common decency to apologize.
Senator, as I mentioned before, and I must say this, that my heart is with the victims of every death from an overdose, number one. Number two, we are bringing unprecedented force to the fight against the drug traffickers. Number three, the scourge of fentanyl is not new. It is not something that was born in 2021. And I can provide you with the tens of thousands of deaths that preceded this administration. This is a challenge that we all have to come together to fight.
He's simply lost all credibility, Mr. Secretary.
Ngày ấy bên bờ sông La, anh nghe câu hò ví rằng để một đời anh đi xa, để ngàn lần anh nhớ mãi. Ngày ấy con đò đưa tiền một người lữ khách qua sông. Người ơi sao mà sâu nặng, câu thương câu đời câu chờ. Nay anh trở về bên dòng sông La, con đò vẫn nguyên dòng sông con đó. Câu hò quê mình mộc mạc mà thương, ngày xưa anh mang đi khắp nẻo đường. Câu hò vì rằng cho anh đầy mơ ước. Nay anh trở về bên dòng sông La, con đò vẫn nguyên dòng sông con đó. Câu hò quê mình mộc mạc mà thương, ngày xưa anh mang đi khắp nẻo đường. Câu hò vì rằng anh thương trọn ngày ấy bên bờ sông La, anh nghe câu hò ví rằng để một đời anh đi xa, để ngàn lần anh nhớ mãi. Ngày ấy con đò đưa tiền một người lữ khách qua sông. Người ơi sao mà sâu nặng, câu thương câu đời câu chờ. Nay anh trở về bên dòng sông La, con đò vẫn nguyên dòng sông con đó. Câu hò quê mình mộc mạc mà thương, ngày xưa anh mang đi khắp nẻo đường. Câu hò vì rằng cay gừng muối mặn đừng